Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Ivan Ross. I am the president and founder of Excelsior Development LLC. We're an urban development and planning firm based out of Elwood, Indiana. And today, I'm having this meeting to talk about the Muncie development plan that we've come forth with, specifically focusing in the East Central neighborhood and the improvements we want to make there. Now, before we go into that, it's always useful to kind of have an outline for a baseline kind of idea of what we're going to go over. So first, we'll give an introduction about the potential project area. Then we'll go into development and like the specific components that break that down. Then we'll go into estimated generated fiscal revenue. And then from there, I'll provide some concluding remarks. And finally, there'll be time for questions at the end. And you can see in between there's more stuff that we'll talk about. So here at Excelsior, we have a slogan that is sustainably moving ever upwards. Now, Excelsior itself is Latin meaning ever upwards, and we find that development and always increasing is not always a good thing if not done through sustainable channels. So keeping that in mind throughout this presentation, this is the project area that we'll be looking at. As you can see, it's mainly gray. When people speak of cities, there's an expression that commonly gets thrown out that cities are concrete jungles. But to us at Excelsior, this looks more like a concrete desert. So here are some streets to kind of orient yourself as we move along. You can see that it's flanked by Madison, Jefferson, Howard, and Adams. Specifically, this is the area that we're going to be examining. If you look close, in the area itself, you see it's primarily parking lots, definitely land that is underutilized, and definitely land that could significantly increase its green capacity. So speaking to that, here is the current land use plan that is kind of in place now. You can see that by and large the area is gray with very little red and very little orange, which you can see on the side is coded for different uses. So specifically, this project is located in the East Central neighborhood, which is probably most notable because of the historic districts that it encapsulates. Now specifically, the project that we will be examining is located right adjacent to the Infill Historic District, but the area itself does not have the same historic identity. And so when tackling this project, we want to give it a new identity, and we were going to tackle that through creating a more sustainable community. So from that, we will go right into the project renderings. So this is the total project rendering, and we'll break it down piece by piece so it's a little bit easier to digest. So first we'll start off with the lower left-hand corner, as you can see. So this area is already pretty much developed. There's not a lot of space, but even with that, there are things that we would propose to change. So the first would be introducing an apartment complex that's 2 floors, so that will generate a lot, or 8 new spots of 7,200 square feet. Then also we will rework parking and make the lot more shared, and that will provide more opportunities for green space. So from there, we'll talk about the next section, the lower right-hand corner, as you can see. So this project area has a lot of potential. First, we see the opportunity to put in a new apartment complex of 16 units, and each unit will be around 600 square feet, so this is perfect for a student. And also, we propose putting in a retail building. Now, this is shown as just one big retail building, but that could be further broken up depending on what the community needs. We see this as a great spot for a grocery store. Then the next thing, maybe the anchor of our proposal, is a just under an acre urban farm. Now this farm will incorporate animal husbandry as well as food production and really provide the cornerstone of sustainability and localized food production. It's an exercise of tactical agrarianism that we are really excited about. And we also propose putting in a solar panel field. We estimate that you could fit about 400 solar panels within this field. And ideally, this would serve as a model of something that the city can incorporate throughout its entirety. So now we'll transition to the last section that we'll be talking about today. So this project area has a lot of opportunities as well. And the first thing we'll speak to is retail space. So once again, this retail space could be one larger business or broken up into smaller businesses or restaurants, whatever the community decides is necessary and wanted. Then also we propose a park. So with the way we are reworking parking, we will have more space for green areas and more space for leisure and space to actually enjoy it instead of just staring at concrete all day. Next, we propose putting in triplexes. So these would be 15 units in total of about 1,600 square feet. So it would be a great place to raise a family and provide some of the missing middle housing that is currently not present in the area. Finally, next, we'll put in a shared parking garage. So this will be around 3,100 square feet. So it's quite substantial, but it will generate 560 new parking spots, which will generate a lot of revenue that we'll see later. And also we propose 2 more retail buildings. Now these are coded retail, but if office space is more needed in the area, it could definitely change depending. And also it's important, we found it important to incorporate a shared or outdoor plaza as features like that become more and more of a necessity in a COVID entrenched world. And also just a general note, the reworking of parking has allowed us to put in more trees and more grass, things that have been previously absent in the area. So if we're looking at just the generated fiscal revenue from parking, you can see that based on just these percentages, which can change fluctuating on what the community wants and what is needed. And you can see that there is quite a bit of yearly revenue to be made. And then further, looking at development types and the revenue that they can generate. So you can see that the retail businesses and apartment complexes and the triplexes can generate quite a bit of income from rent. And I will note that the figures given are based off of data reflected on Zillow and other rental websites for comparable units. So concluding, here are some closing remarks made by us here at Excelsior Developments. We see this area as having huge potential for underutilized land. And with that, through utilizing it more efficiently, you can give the area identity. So it will create a more diverse community while giving a lot of new places to live, work, play, and congregate, ultimately all in the same area, which is sustainable. So this also provides massive opportunities for revenue generation where there wasn't any before. This is also an effort that can help piece Muncie together. If you think as a city as a mosaic, this is a tile that other areas can build upon, ultimately creating a more beautiful and sustainable city. So with that, we want to close on our slogan, sustainably moving ever upwards, and that's how we see this project moving forward. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. If not, you can always visit us at excelsiordevelopments.com, and you can always shoot me an email at ivan@excelsiordevelopments.com. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
Good morning. I'm going to be discussing the Fountain District proposed for downtown Muncie. My name is Brooke Klena. I'm the owner of Fort Yay, company based out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. We're recognized for creating unique spaces and experiences. We predominantly work on cultural, art, and entertainment districts, and our specialty is creating a sense of wonder and discovery. Along the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see all the different areas of our work. For this development, we're tasked with 4 things: creating an infill development that has both residential and commercial components, that's fully parked, and along Charles Street. Adding to that is our company culture, making sure that the development is useful to people, so that people actually use it. It's not like the 4th grocery store in 1 mile. We've actually seen developments proposed like that. That it's offering something unique and special, that it creates a sense of wonder and discovery, and is something that the community can be proud of. So we'll just first discuss the site in the context of land use. So to give you an idea of where we are, so we're on Charles Street. We're in the southeast quadrant of downtown Muncie. Mulberry Street is on our west, and Madison Street is on our east. First, we'll mention the park that's nearby. A great recreation opportunity. There's a lot of public programming that happens there. Mixed-use retail activity. Notably, the cluster here on the left side of the screen that's on Charles Street. It has a neighborhood bar there that's really popular. Also, notable is the alley, the vacated alley there that serves as a community space. We have offices surrounding the site. Most of these are not historic structures. The one that is historic we will note, and that is the Riley Jones house on Charles Street. There's a YMCA, there's a YWCA providing important program and support for women. There's transitional housing operated by the county. Open Door is a facility that provides affordable dental and medical services. We do have some affordable housing with the Howard Square development. Several churches on the site, the public library, and municipal use there in the bottom corner with the water treatment facility. And then across Madison, we have several fast food locations. It's important to look at the existing land use because we want to integrate our development into this site and keep it within the existing context, but also add some additional vibrancy. So I took those buildings and blacked them out really to demonstrate that this is all the parking that's on the site. It's about 75% of the land area. It's either a parking lot or some sort of vacant or underdeveloped lot. This is our focus area. It's 5 blocks or 14 acres. Now we'll look at the site in the context of photos. So this is looking northwest. This is looking towards the predominant commercial districts on Walnut Street. Again, lots of parking. You see on-street parking and lot parking. This is looking the other direction, standing in one parking lot, taking a picture of another parking lot. You see Cobra Head style lighting fixtures and utilities. This is looking northeast. That's the brick building there is the YWCA. Again, lots of parking. And this is looking southeast, closest to Madison. Here the lane narrows and we actually have parallel parking instead of angled parking. And finally looking towards Open Door. Again, more parking, but at least there's some attractive landscaping on this particular site. So now we'll look at our proposal for the redevelopment of this site with infill development, again, talking about use. Again, this is what we're here to do. 5 blocks, 14 buildings. You'll see that we have a really wonderful illustrator on staff. We'll move on here. So we actually have to take down 4 buildings in order to make this development happen as proposed. We intend to bring housing to the site. We want to respect the existing social services. We want to attract a grocery and a pharmacy, opportunities for retail and restaurant. We want to improve the connectivity, and we want to provide some on-site energy sources. So you'll notice that a lot of these buildings aren't showing dimension. You'll notice that in the center there in gray, there's like showing dimension. The rest of these roofs are flat in our development because we want to accommodate solar panels. So looking at each one of these blocks individually now, there's 5 of them in total again. A lot of mixed use proposals. We're keeping most of our development at 3 stories. We feel like that's a very good pedestrian scale height and that it's conducive to the existing character of downtown Muncie. So here we have quite a few apartments. Most of our development is divided into 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet. 500 either being a pretty large studio or a adequate 1-bedroom apartment, and 1,000 accommodating some of those small growing families. So young couples who might have 1 or 2 children that can share a bedroom. On this site, you'll also find 35,000 square feet of retail. That's on the ground floor. Apartments, of course, are on the 2nd and 3rd. Parking is in the back of the building, so all of our developments are to the street and all the parking is hidden in the back. Oops. Oh, so you may be asking, that doesn't seem like a lot of parking. That doesn't seem like enough parking. Well, that's because there's also on-street parking on this site, and if you look at the surrounding area, there's still quite a bit of parking, and we propose a shared parking plan for downtown. We do not propose structured parking for this site, only because there's other sites that we feel are more appropriate, closer to the railroad station, where there might be like a park and ride situation as Muncie develops its long-term regional transportation plan. But oh my God, look at all the parking we still have. Also, part of what makes our organization unique is how we like to add something kind of magical to a place, and we're doing that in this development through the use of courtyards. Moving on, another 3-story mixed-use development with retail on the bottom floor and more apartments. Again, the parking is inside the building, not on a lot on a street. You'll notice here that in this block we restored the center lane alley. It's better diagrammed in another image, but I'll make note of it here. And then also we're adding some green alleys. So all of these buildings are brand new. They were on just a flat parking lot. So we're even creating some retail opportunity on the inside of those alleys to activate even additional more space. This is just an apartment building. We thought with the adjacent social services, it might be nice to have like a respite from some commercial activity. So this is just an apartment. Again, it has parking on the inside of the alley, courtyard, and green alleys. Moving along, mixed use, another 3-story building, apartments, retail on the first floor, parking in the back, courtyard in the center, different configuration to add some interest. This block already has some existing structures on it. This is where the transitional housing exists, and so we are going to supplement that with some additional missing middle infill housing, providing some more affordable and transitional housing. Then this site, so again, we break up the block. We add some retail, some apartments, parked in the back. This is our focus area for a grocer and a pharmacy. And doing our modeling, this would fit a small, like neighborhood-based Fresh Market or an Aldi, and the property on the south would fit a CVS or a Walmart. Not Walmart, Walgreens. So this is the estimated revenue for this development. So you'll see the apartment use, the commercial use, different rates, and how that leads to approximately $4.5 million annually. So now we're going to talk about the proposal in terms of the unique character we intend to bring to it. So here is where it's a little easier to see where we restore the alleys. So we're restoring all the alleys and the connectivity it provides for parking and utilities and deliveries for businesses, and all of that's outlined in purple. The green alleys are there in green, street trees everywhere, producing a canopy, courtyards identified with the blue stars, and courtyards with the blue shaded area and fountains with the blue stars. Public art, we're adjacent to the Muncie Art and Cultural Trail, so we want to pay homage to that and also create some identity for downtown by installing murals and sculptures. We're going to recommend some unique lighting, and that these different courtyards and green alleys provide some unique program areas. So we are inspired by Muncie, of course. Muncie is a really thriving historic commercial district on Walnut, so we'd like to bring some of that success over to Charles Street. Kansas City is where we had some interest and gained some inspiration for fountains. Of course, ours won't be so grand in scale, but it doesn't mean they can't be as cool. New Orleans with bringing the inside outside with a lot of balconies, and those balconies providing space for people for restaurants and businesses to display, racks of merchandise or bring out some outdoor seating. In addition, these decorative fencings, we'd like to apply some of that to the site. Here's another New Orleans example. This is kind of like an alley, a green alley, or just like a connectivity corridor that we could use on our site. Savannah, really what I found here, or what we found exciting here, it was the canopy. But of course, there's another example of a beautiful fountain. decorative ironwork. Waikiki. Waikiki has a series of sculptures associated with their fountains that tell the story of the people of Hawaii. So we recommend some sort of like storytelling treatment of the sculptures and fountains in our area. In Charleston, we're inspired by their garden walk. So you're walking through any of these green alleys, you could have this sort of treatment. Also, again, speaking back to that identity in public art, like this feeling of pride and being excited about where we are. So here's an example from Detroit. Here's an example from Nashville. Here's some unique lighting treatments. We often see it on the street, but why not add it to the building? Here's an example where it's not just like strong lights, it's a blanket of light that goes across. Just some interesting treatments. So again, we're addressing housing. We're being respectful to the social services. We're hopefully attracting a grocery or a pharmacy, retail and restaurant. We're improving connectivity, and we're providing energy on site. This kind of special sauce that we're adding that really creates like this interesting district are the alleys and the gardens and the street trees, the courtyards, the fountains of the public art, the lighting and the program areas. And all of these things combined result in this. So a revitalized downtown where we're restoring the character of the historic district. We're providing resiliency based on the size of the buildings we're creating for small, local, and independent businesses. We're creating interest. We're providing an identity for the area. It's creating a destination, hopefully a place that the community can feel proud of, and we're creating a sense of wonder and discovery. Any questions?
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan and I'm a part of the St. Mary's Passing Development, and this is our proposal. So a little back history. We decided on the name St. Mary's as it relates to the Treaty of St. Mary's 1818, which is one of the many treaties that the American government enacted onto the native indigenous population who were on this land before us. And it's a way of us acknowledging the land and letting those know who come into our development that where you live is not where you own, and nothing can truly be ours if it's on stolen land. Our mission essentially is we're taking this, our development is a community-based public health model. And we believe that if you address the needs in Delaware County from an intersectional perspective, you get a better family and a better outcome. And some of the needs we're looking to disrupt is the rising poverty rate, affordable housing crisis, the health crisis, and the low access to education that many people in this area have. So this is the current development site. And we're looking to actually purchase all 3 blocks of land from the renters and owners there. Very ambitious, I know, but it's something that we believe we need all 3 blocks to develop on, and this is our development mock-up. And so what you're looking at here is about 12 units of townhouses, 6 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 6 4-bedroom, 2-bath, a playground. In the middle block, we have a community center that has an event space, a computer lab, a fitness center, and a community library. We have a daycare facility for our residents as well as community members in the surrounding area. We have a community co-op, which is a community-owned market, as well as brick and mortar spaces for those who are looking to enter the entrepreneurial business but don't have the access to get a bank loan to get access to that foot traffic. And so they could rent out some of the property spaces in there or some of the shelf spaces in the community co-op to further their business. On the further end, we also have a community garden and a park. On the further end of our property, we have 2 duplexes, 3 fourplexes with a basketball court and a tennis court. Next, you'll see some SketchUp models of what this would look like. And so our site strategy looks at this model right here. So we take a family who is housing insecure or lack of housing, and we provide housing for them. That answers only one question. Next thing we do is we provide childcare. It's proven that childcare at this rate costs about $30,000 a year. So we give a family access to free childcare. This allows for the parents to be able to, 1, pick up more hours at work, or 2, apply for another job that may have hours that may have conflicted with the lifestyle they had before they gained housing with us. Through our event space, we hold programs that encourage financial literacy, and this allows for people to understand how to manage their money better. We actively believe in community engagement through our community park and our community co-op. This allows for people to feel like they're not in this alone. The community aspect is very important to us. As you see in our layout, it may be like 3 blocks, but there's essentially one long path where you can see to either end of block 1 or block 3. And finally, when all this is done, we will see a steady increase in their social, physical, and mental health. And we believe that following these steps, the family that enter will be the family will not be the same family that leaves our site. So our unit breakdown is essentially this chart right here. So if you see right here, our total revenue per month is $27,192. That's just like looking at the cost of the rent that people will be paying. We're not charging for childcare services. We're also not charging for parking. Our units per AMI, so most of our units are at affordable housing prices. So about 50% are at 30% AMI, 25% at 50% AMI, and 25% at 80% AMI. As you see there, 80% of our units are affordable units, and our parking is 1-to-1 with their own private parking. So it's important that I acknowledge that we are really looking to, our target audience for this is the younger crowd, is the youth and the older generations, and that is what we call the double dependency, because we're targeting the youth, the families with children on one end of the block. And on block 3, we're looking at the fourplexes, for example, are for the older, more wise generation who yearn for that like independence, but still want that community aspect. And that is essentially St. Mary's Passing. If there's any questions, I can take them.
Hello and good morning. My name is Kyle Petter, and I am here with Missing Middle Development with my proposals for the East Central neighborhood. So here is what we currently have. You can see it is mostly single-family residential with 2 fast food restaurants as well as 2 churches. One along the main thoroughfare, and then one running along Charles of the St. Lawrence Church. So here we lay out the streets to kind of explain a little bit more of the context. So here is my area of study. So to give a little bit more context, my site is located roughly towards the end of the Emily Kimbrough district. So because of this, I tried to take in design guidelines for the district so the housing and other developments will fall in line with what is currently there. Much of the context in terms of housing came from Muncie itself, because I wanted to bring a similar typology in design as well as scale and density. So that's where a good portion of the buildings themselves were actually developed from, as well as Minneapolis and Portland itself. So the goals of this development are working on affordable as well as transitional housing. Because of a lot of the services in the area, there's a lot of people in need of missing middle housing. I also am attempting to provide business opportunities for individuals in the community as well as the neighborhood who are attempting to work on transitioning into the next part of their lives, as well as keeping with the neighborhood aesthetics. So the local amenities are the YMCA, the soup kitchen, the child care center, which is right here near Washington Park, the women's shelter, as well as open door health services. So the first is this single-family home. It's roughly about 1,000 square feet. A lot of the homes that you will see here that are single-family are going to be typically smaller, just because our goal at Missing Middle Development is not building buildings that this is their final stage, that in fact, as the neighborhood continues to grow and develop, the homes themselves can also continue to be added on. So in this case, this home could go from a 1-story to a 2-story, or maybe it can be added on to the back as the family or whoever lives in the home itself continues to grow. So the next one is about a 750 square foot home, which is a little bit smaller, but there is the expectation of growth as well. So our first commercial building is about a 900 square foot building. It was actually based off of a building more towards the river in the East Central neighborhood, which would be able to provide someone who is just starting out some type of business idea, just to see if there's the chance of continued growth. So the next one is here on the corner, which is more of like a corner store. So it would probably be a 2-story brick building itself. So it would provide about 2 tenants. The next one is a slightly smaller one, 500 square feet. Just because of the size of the lot, I thought this would be a very suitable building for the site. The next one is a little bit bigger. The hopes would probably be with this one is maybe a small grocery store. Nothing too extensive, but something to start to bring food options in to the area. So then we have a light industry building. So this could be a maker space, maybe a woodworking shop, something that isn't necessarily commercial in nature, but isn't heavy industry either, but something that would be able to provide for the community itself in terms of bringing creativity to the area. So here I have, we start to work on getting into a little bit of the bigger missing middle. So we have 3 duplexes, which each are about 2,496 square feet. These would start to provide a little bit more substance in terms of family homes as opposed to smaller families. So here we start to then get into the cottage court. So they're roughly about 900 square feet. There's 13 of them, and there's a kind of a main corridor that connects off of the alleyway with the parking, which we will eventually come to later. Okay, and then I also, on that site, I then put 15 ADUs in with the parking beneath the ADUs themselves. So they're actually raised up. So then you can put the car in, because a lot of the parking in the area will be on street parking, because I wanted to make sure to utilize as much of the space as possible to provide missing housing for the residents of the area.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to make your commentary on each
Shorter.
development type a little bit briefer, because you're already almost at 8 minutes.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Okay, so then I put in a walk-in, and then here is a mixed-use building, commercial in the front, residential in the back, and it's about 2,500 square feet for each one. I put a duplex here, I put a triplex, I put an apartment building, which is about 9 units itself, another single family home, another store, here's a duplex, here's a single family, another light residential. So the phases, everything is incremental, roughly between a 5 to 10 year period. I wanted to make sure that the growth was slow enough to allow the community to be able to work with the development, so everything isn't completed at the same time, but there was a slow growth over time. The development here will then be near where the railroad currently is. Then I start to move back onto Charles Street. Then I start with the cottage court. Then I start again on going back with East Charles Street, which is then followed by going back to the railroad along Hackley, and then the final one is the mixed-use building. Here is some of the revenue that would be produced. I didn't provide revenue for single-family homes because roughly they're going to sell between probably 25 and maybe 45,000 based upon the size as well as the current location of them, as the going rate of housing is in that realm. And then here is the rest of the revenue, and that's what I got. Any questions?
All right, good morning, everybody. My name's Adam Daniel. I'm with White Lotus Design, and I'm going to tell you about a plan for Ivyland Park, which will be a new development in downtown Muncie. So the existing usage of this site, it's outlined there, is there's currently 4 units of single-family residential, a few apartments that are in that area. Some of it is affordable housing, and a few office spaces as well. About 3 businesses are taking up real estate there, but as you can see pretty clearly in the image, it's pretty much mostly parking. All of that strip of parking on the right side of the image is all belonging to Ivy Tech, and on the left side there's a few buildings, but it's still interspersed with parking, so it's honestly very close to about 75% parking. And the existing streetscape. So this is a streetscape plan of West Charles Street, which is near the bottom of this site. It's very much scrubby ornamental trees, overly wide street, just kind of harsh and barren. Even the trees that are there, like I said, they're just kind of scrubby and they're not really serving any purpose. They don't provide any significant amount of shade. They're just sort of hanging out. This is another view of the area. This is looking south from Jackson, so this will be all the way at the north end of the site. Standing at the top of one of those parking lots, and as you can see, it's like standing in the middle of Arizona. You can see forever, and this is in almost the core of downtown Muncie. So you're looking across 3-4 blocks of just straight parking lot, all the way down to the horizon line. So definitely a great opportunity there for infill. So the proposed streetscape then doesn't look much different in this picture on the right. But we want to have some more trees, some more significant trees, higher, providing some shade and some greenery, as well as making some ornamental streetlights, narrowing up the road a little bit, and using some of that reclaimed space for planters and things like that to make it more green. And this is sort of an example of what that might look like. Again, taller trees, greener canopy cover, and some streetlight sort of things to dress it up a little bit, make it a more interesting place to be and walk around. So this is a sketch of that site, as well as a breakdown of the things that go into Ivyland Park. So there's 4 different components of this development. On that north block there, Ivyland Shops. I'll get into the details of what exactly each of these are in a moment, but it's some retail and parking amenities, Ivy Park Apartments, Ivy Grove Offices, and Ivy Park Bungalows. So first, Ivyland Shops. It's retail on the first floor. There's 4 spaces there for cafes, coffee shops, sort of small boutiques or storefronts. You could even have sort of it being across from Ivy Tech, you could even have like an Ivy Tech store in there sort of thing, or even a little bit of classroom space if that was needed right in the vicinity. And then the upper 2 levels are both parking decks. And so you would enter and exit off of those on the north side there on Jackson Street, which is one way. So cars are already going fast. It's not really a good opportunity to have any kind of significant storefront space, but it is good for cars entering and leaving. So that would be the main, as I said, entrance and exit to the parking there. So these are some examples of just some sort of aesthetic things that this might look like. You can see that obviously this is apartments on the top upper floors. I couldn't find an exact example of what I was looking for, but it gives you sort of an idea of the retail on the bottom, and still some utilization of street parking there. Some trees, some greenery, dresses up the space, makes it again a nice place to walk around, while still being functional up above. So the financials, profit and loss statement for Ivyland Shops. Revenue, we have 4 6x20 units, comes out to $4.2 million a year, and expenses estimated at about a $4.4 million cost to build. Next stage of the development, Ivy Park Apartments. Studio and 1-bedroom apartments fitting for Ivy Tech students, faculty, and young professionals. As I said, located in the heart of downtown, bars, restaurants, downtown offices, and as you can see on the site there, there's sort of half of the apartments would be looking out at the rest of the city, and half would be looking in on this little courtyard space that would be semi-private, some gardens, some greenery, trees, that sort of thing, which is totally missing in the current usage. So this is, again, some examples of what that might look like. Just some different spaces. As you can see here, there's this nice greenery area. It's semi-private. You're only sharing it with your neighbors, but it's going to be secluded from street noise and sort of be a little bit of an oasis in the middle of the city. Again, profit and loss. About 36 units worth of apartments there, averaging about 800 square feet each. $28,000 a month in revenue, $335,000 a year. The expenses estimated about $3.6 million to build that. So next, moving down the block, Ivy Grow offices. So we wanted to incorporate some retail and some office space a little bit further down. So this would be fronting Charles Street, which was sort of a historic corridor in this area. Much of the original architecture and buildings that were there have been destroyed. And so the idea would be to sort of restore some of that. So actually all of these pictures are or have been Muncie. On the right is the Fickle Peach, which is further down Charles Street. On the left is a building that's a block or two south of Charles Street on Walnut. And in the center is an old postcard of what Walnut Street had looked like 50, 60 plus years ago. And so the thing I was really attracted to here was some of the architecture, like the turrets and the brick, which is something that we would want to sort of restore and give an homage to the character of what had been there before. So, like I said, this is fronting Charles Street. There are a couple existing buildings there, an old church that's being used for apartments, and this would be sort of infill on the other sides. And so this is, again, some examples of what that might look like. Again, reuse of the brick, a lot of the architectural character, restoring that. They built something new that looks like it's been there forever. Profit and loss. 2 different buildings, totaling to about 20,000 square feet of space, around $250,000 a month in rent, $3 million a year. Expense to build, estimated about $330,000. Finally, Ivy Park Bungalows. This place gets at a missing middle housing arrangement, many of which are either no longer built or removed from urban spaces. So the idea would be to have some of these craftsman sort of cottages like this building at the top, arranged in this format like at the bottom, where they're face out towards the street, but they also have this sort of private central garden area, as well as a stair step to go up, a bedroom on the top with a private patio area. So this is located here at the bottom. As I said, private courtyard, street out to the sides. This is some examples of what that might look like. That top left is actually from the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. Profit and loss for the bungalows. 6 1.5 floor units. About $12,500 in revenue per month, $151,000 a year. Cost of construction estimated about $1.6 million. So parking considerations, of course, can't do anything in downtown Indiana without that. Currently, there would be with this arrangement, rather, there would be 342 parking spaces lost. Still 51 street spaces that are existing there and are currently underutilized, needing one space for each unit, 62 units, as well as the 200 spaces lost from Ivy Tech. With the parking garage added back, there would be 368 parking spaces added, as well as the 51 on the street that are currently underutilized. So the parking would be pretty close to what it is now, just rearranged in a different format to make the space more usable for people rather than for cars. And density considerations, the target density here would be a minimum of about 8 density units per acre. Totaling up, we come out to just over 13 density units per acre in the combination of these developments here. Finally, the profit and loss for the whole project, Ivyland Park. Annual revenue at full capacity would be about 7.7 million, and upfront expenses of building would be just under 10 million. So, any questions?